Okay, so I read this verse in 2 Samuel 22. It's verse 34. It says, "He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights." Obviously, He is the Lord God we're talking about here. And originally, for this week's Saturday sermon, I was going to do a couple other verses. These come from David's, I guess, song of praise to God. It said that the context was that it was after he had escaped Saul, who was chasing him, and all his enemies. All these people were coming at David at this time. And, he, after it was all over and God saved him, protected him through it all, he praised God and has this whole chapter of song of praise, basically. And so I was originally going to do a couple of those other verses, but this kind of stood out to me already with, like, the feet of a deer, like He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. And all of a sudden this popped into my head, and I kind of furthered on the idea since yesterday into today. It was the idea of, like, a deer in the headlights. And, like, for a second I was like, why do deers even stop in the headlights and stare and stuff all the time? It's like a thing everybody knows, the deer in the headlights. And I was kind of thinking of it since we had this reference to a deer, like the Lord making our feet like the feet of a deer. We all know how the deer runs. We see the deer crossing the road and stuff. They look free. They're just like, going across fast and stuff, and lightly and stuff. So that's how, God makes our feet basically and stuff. But then I thought of the deer in the headlights, this other type, this other times that the deer has sometimes, where they get caught up, the car is coming, head on at them. The deer, instead of going all the way across, they stop and stare. They don't make it fully across the road sometimes, and they get caught up staring at the headlights like they're hypnotized. And sometimes, I hate to say this, and I hate it when it happens, but the car hits the deer. I hate that. Anyway, so, it's sad to say, but sometimes you could compare us to that deer in the headlights with sin. Like when even though we know that it's going to hurt us or destroy us or just tear us apart. But why do we stop and we get caught up and we let sin, control our vision, and all of a sudden we're just completely blinded. We don't see anything else but that sin, and we want that sin for some reason. And then guess what happens? It hits us and it hurts us. And so but the good thing is, though, I looked it up, about the deer and the headlights and stuff. And I looked it up and I saw where, it talks about, like, something with the deer's eyes and the way the deer doesn't, they get caught up and all of a sudden they don't have this, like, initiative, I guess, in their brain to fully help them across the road. They're just that caught up and then they get hit sometimes. Sometimes they do go across, but a lot of times they just get stopped and stared at it. And but with us, we're humans. We have brains and we have a conscience, and God gave that to us. We're not animals, we're humans made in God's image, so we're a bit different than that. And yeah, we may have the temptations, but God gives us the power to stand up against those temptations and to resist. It's just a part of if we're going to do that or not. Like, God will help us through, ask the Lord and He'll help you resist it. But sometimes when we don't go to the Lord and we're just going about life, and all of a sudden, Satan feels like putting this sin in our path, and we look at the sin and we're like, oh, there's something I really want, or we think it's going to be good for us, or we just get caught up because we can't resist the temptation. And the next thing we know, if we don't get out of the way or run from it, we're getting hit. And that's not good for our relationship with Christ or in this journey to heaven. That's not our point here. So, how do we resist it? Think like God making our feet like the feet of a deer. We need to just run. It's as simple as run, rebuke it, just get out of the way. Instead of taking the chance of being there and nearly escaping or actually getting hit, just run, Be like the deer, the feet that swiftly runs across the road. Don't be the deer caught up in the headlights, We need to stay in the right kind of light, not the fake light coming that's all bright from the sin that makes it look like something great, and it looks so good, and it's coming, and the next thing we know, we're worse off than we should have been if we had just run. Be like the deer and run across that road.